Okay, now I'll give the control to Smita and Raji. You can take from here. Thank you.
Hi everyone, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Nancy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear both of you.
Awesome. All right, thank you, Nancy, so much. Wonderful. Thank you, Nancy, so much for that wonderful introduction. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out and joining us. It's such a pleasure to welcome you. As Nancy mentioned, I'm an executive coach and a program lead. And today we are really happy to facilitate this introductory session on design thinking. Design thinking is something that I'm really passionate about. It's a methodology that we use to solve what is called wicked problems, problems that are deemed unsolvable in the current thinking process. And I truly believe that we can use design thinking to make an impact in the corporate as well as the social development space. Now, if you take nothing else, there are three messages that I would like you guys to take from this workshop. One is it is used to solve unsolvable people problems. Two, become an expert at failing. We live in a culture that sometimes glorifies and rewards success and consistent winning. Thinking turns it around and says you embrace the concept of failure and learning from failure. It encourages leaders such as you to create an atmosphere where failure is accepted and considered a valued source of learning. The last point that I'd like to leave you guys with is that this methodology is for everybody. So we customized this workshop based on a curriculum that is used on elementary school kids. We did a test run last week on teenagers, and today we are presenting it to this amazing group of women leaders. And right there, it proves its universal application. So join us in this journey. Thank you again. And having said that, Raji, I'm going to kick it over to you.
Thank you, Smitha. Thanks, Nancy, for the wonderful introduction and getting us onboarded with this session. Thanks, Smitha, for setting the tone here. And just a quick introduction about myself. Again, I'm S.Rajarajeshwari. I'm the founder and CEO of VERA Business Consulting. Apart from being an entrepreneur, I'm a thought leader, a mentor, mom of two kids, and here I am to talk about design thinking for leaders. So let's get started. So we'll be talking about an introduction about what design thinking is. You got an overview from Smitha. We will have a workshop on internalizing design thinking. Smitha will take over on that, and then she will also talk through the leaders as design thinkers, and then we'll be concluding on the branding with design thinking. So let's get started. So the word design. So what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you say the word design? You can use chat to type in your answers or options. I would love to hear that first thing which comes to your mind when I say design. And I'll give you like few seconds. So art, creation, plan, aesthetics, format, process, jewelry, creative, create, color. So visual structure, making your own way. Okay. Ideas, plan. Something is getting closer when it says, Shailaja says plan. Think, yes, we're getting a little closer. Okay, so here it is, guys. When I say the word design, we come to what it's not what it looks like or feels like. That is the perception which we hold for the word design. But actually, when you say design, it's how it works. So the solutions, the design thinking comes with the word design, where our notion has to shift to the perception of how a thing works than how it feels or just looks like. So that thought process is what we need to carry through in this workshop. So let's get started. And let's get ready for laying a great groundwork for great ideas here. With that, let me just move on. So I would start with the next keyword for us, that is strategy. When we say strategy, right, and many of you are already familiar about this word strategy in your day-to-day life. What we actually do with strategy is we try to set boundaries to a problem and we try to pick a problem that we want to solve. So that we do in our day-to-day life at work or at home, or be it any problem that we are trying to solve. But when it comes to design thinking, that's when, what is design thinking? So the differentiator here is it's a user-centric approach to problem solving. We are trying to resolve a problem or think through a problem for a particular user through a lens which is meant for the user. And the Darden School of Business, University of Virginia, Professor Jean Litka has put up this formulation of WHATs to understand the whole journey of the design thinking. And in this process, we have what is, what if, what wows, and what works. Each phase has got its own tools. So the 1 to 10 are the tools which come handy for you to use when you actually work through the design thinking process or approach of solving a problem. You have different stages in each WHATs. Like what is talks about empathizing and defining. What if talks about ideation. What wows will cover what is prototyping and testing, which works in tandem. And then we'll talk about what works. So let me take you to the next level where we'll talk about each piece in a little more detail. So here comes what is. So in the what is, we are trying to understand the problem. What is encompasses of empathizing and defining the problem statement. We engage with our customer. We try to empathize with the customer, be it a person, be it as any stakeholder who we are talking to. It could be a child or it could be an old age person. We understand, we try to be in their shoes and see what they are going through. We become their eyes, ears, and then totally absorb what they are going through in a certain situation. We define the problem, we gather, we analyze, we synthesize all these observations, and we come up with what is a problem statement in a human manner. So that is the understanding of a problem, empathizing, defining, and coming up with problem statement is what we have achieved as part of this what is. We move on to the next thing, that is what if. In the what if, we are trying to develop possible solutions. We are ideating. We exchange ideas, and these ideas could be anything silly to the most out of the box kind of a thinking. So we'll just generate all those ideas, we'll think around it. The final goal is to select the best idea and to move on. So what is was the phase where we empathized, we got more perception about what the problem is, we made a problem statement. In the what if stage, we try to develop solutions towards the problem. The next is what wows. And here is the stage where we are doing the prototyping and testing and trying to refine the problem. So we prototype, we test, and then we talk about how this problem can be solution, right? So we exchange our ideas in the real prototype. We talk to the stakeholders, with the teams, the users. We'll have all those acceptance, rejections, and we have to be open, be it acceptance or rejection. We just take our ideas to the table and give it a shape and get it brainstormed. And finally, we test our prototypes and we have some scope of improvements. And there would be some rule outs of those solutions which might not work, and we have to just move on. And finally, the last stage is what works. That's where the things get implemented. And we have the ideation over here. We have those high potential concepts which will meet the marketplace or which will meet the final end user and which satisfies his needs. So here we'll have the innovation and inventions. So invention is where we are trying to find a novel way to do something, and innovation would be where it would actually meet the market. We get a solution which hit the market. So we go through the whole cycle of understanding a problem, defining possible solutions, prototyping it, testing it, and finally implementing it. So that was an overview about how the process is. And now I hand off to Smitha.
Thank you, Raji. So Raji, thank you so much for kind of setting the context and giving the actual concept around design thinking. What we thought we could do next is actually take you through an actual problem instead of kind of telling you more about the tools. We can do a lot of theory, but the best way to internalize it is to actually work on a problem and implement some of these tools. It's going to be a highly interactive session. So every slide, every time, I would request you guys to put your thinking caps on, unmute yourself, share your thoughts, type in your comments on chat, whatever works for you. But what we thought we do is we pick a challenge that's highly personal to all of us, I'm thinking, in what's happening right now. And we try and see what solutions come out of it. Needless to say, we can't learn all the tools today, but what we are hoping will come out of this exercise is that you will get interested and curious to learn more about design thinking. Next slide, Raji. So the DEFG principle is what's helped me to internalize design thinking. So just do it. A lot of our corporate life is around planning. So what I'm telling you to do now is to throw all of that planning out of the way and get it to implement. So if you're familiar with the Agile methodology in the IT world, you would have experienced foregoing some of that excessive planning. Design thinking follows the same. Okay, that was weird. Design thinking follows the same thought process here. The second piece is the empathy, and we've talked about that quite a bit in the last couple of minutes, and we're going to show you a clipping on what empathy means. But essentially, living the life of your end user is a key tenet to getting successful solutions. Fail quick, fail small, get over it. Again, Raji talked about it. We kind of reiterate and kind of fail quickly, fail small before you've invested too much time, money, and effort. So learn from your mistakes and make better solutions. Test the updated solutions over and over until you get a solution that works for you. And these solutions are typically like made of straws and paper and things that you'll find in your home. So make those basic prototypes, figure what works, what doesn't, what needs to be improved until you get to that one solution that works. What we thought we could do is we'll share a quick video on how design thinking is implemented in schools. See the magnitude of the problem that they're trying to solve, and maybe derive some from inspiration from that. Raji, do you want to share the video?
One second, I think.
Yeah, take your time.
Yeah. It's not reflecting here, right? One second.
Today's design challenge is...
Give me 1 second. Let me just stop share and share again.
Manasi, also. How is design thinking a more successful differentiator than a normal strategic goal to action linear thinking?
That's a really good question. I'll answer and then I'll let Raji weigh in. Typically, all of the other methodologies capture a lot of planning. Like even when in the past, when I've done from the product or whatever solution you want to design, that comes from understanding the user. So empathy is something that's a keynote of design thinking. And again, testing and prototype. So those are the two things where you kind of fail, you're encouraged to fail and then learn from it. So those three are tenets that's typically not there in the other options. The other options are you plan, you try and implement it, it's a big bang release, and then you see that there's a whole lot of blockers and things that you need to adjust and fix, and then it's a whole new story all over again. So that's the difference between design thinking and other problem-solving methodology. Does that answer your question? And Raji, did you have anything else to add to that?
That's pretty much, Smitha. We are just using the special lens of empathizing with customer and then trying to fail fast and do more prototyping and testing. That's about it. So let me just get started with the video. I'm here.
Design challenge is creating a water filtration system using natural resources. In design thinking, the first thing you have to do is empathize. If you don't do that, you won't be able to make the right thing for the person. This morning, we watched a few videos to see how other people get water. It was about a girl that had to walk 4 miles to get water and 4 miles to get back. And her back was aching because of that heavy bucket of water on her head. We just have to get a glass of water from the fridge.
After we showed him the video, we just shared some facts with him. Worldwide, here's how many people don't have access to clean water.
In the video, what did you notice around her? Some of the natural resources around her.
Like a plant.
So could she use these items?
Yes. So for the research part, we needed the kids to experience these natural resources. What happens when you pour water through sand? What happens when you pour water through cloth?
Did you get all of the dirt? Oh.
After research, we'll define a problem. A lot of times they need to come up with a definition. What is the problem that we're trying to solve? With this one, we had a problem already defined.
So our problem is people who do not have access to clean water need a way to filter water so they don't get sick from it. What's next?
Brainstorm different ideas. When students are ideating, we talk about rapid ideating. We don't want them to waste too much time kind of working through one idea or adding a lot of details. It's just, what if I made it this way? What if I changed it that way? Oh, so you're saying to layer some of those materials? Then they go ahead and prototype. This is not your final building. It's like your model. So when it comes to your real one, you know what you're going to build. Walking around to the tables, you hear students starting to combine different ideas. Drawing it first shows how you're going to build it. Now we will connect the pipe right here. And then it has to turn and go up.
So now they have their paper model, it's labeled, so they can go and get the supplies needed and start building it.
We need a clock. The prototyping when they're building it can be sometimes the quickest part. They have it all planned out. They know what they're building. After students prototype, they're excited to jump in and see, how did my prototype work? What number would you say this is for turbidity?
We've brought out a turbidity scale, which they would be looking for the clarity of the water, and then a ppm device, which would measure the purity of it.
And so even though water might be clear, it still might not be safe to drink. What do you see, Brandon? What number? 985. If it fails, you have to see the problems and make it again.
The final stage in the design process is we'll have them upload into their digital portfolio. Sometimes it's about publishing results
Okay, we can go on. Sorry.
that didn't quite work so that others can learn from it.
Publishing could just be sharing out to an audience. What would they change? Or what was challenging about the project? How did the group work together?
And you guys took both ideas and made it into one. And how did that make you feel, Emma?
Starting design thinking at a really early age, they'll take more risks. They start learning goal setting, problem solving, perseverance. First attempts don't always work out. It's okay to fail and try again, because then you actually are learning something like, oh, this doesn't work, let's try this.
7:35.
So I'm going to pause here and ask for comments. Unmute your chat, put things on the chat window. But what insights did you get out of that video?
Brainstorm till you succeed.
Absolutely.
Learn from your mistake and keep modifying until and unless you succeed.
Very true. And I see Liz write in, learning, loved hearing, failing is okay. Absolutely. And I think growing up, for me, failure was not an option. Like, you just had to keep pushing yourself. And I feel like I didn't learn a lot of things because I was scared to fail, because I had to portray this persona of always succeeding. And for me, design thinking has freed me up like that, because now I don't think like that. I'm like, I'll try. If I fail, that's okay. This is great, you guys. I love all of the comments on the chat window. So Karen, don't wait for the perfect solution. Drawing board solution, Rupa, absolutely. Lalita, continue to work on options. Jacqueline, unity can solve problem, not only by yourself. Yep. Wonderful. Did I miss anybody? Amrita said problem solving skills. Vijaya said everyone has different solutions. Better to see all and execute the best. Vijaya, good point. I don't know if in the video they said combine solutions. So people come up with different solutions and you combine it, which I think is wonderful. Manshi, children are not burdened with traditional thinking, so design thinking is easily picked and executed for them. Yes. No need to unlearn. Very true. All right. Moving on. Keep your comments coming, you guys. We're loving it. Raji, do you want to go to the next slide?
Yeah, I think I moved. Can you see? Or
why am I not seeing? Hold
okay,
on.
okay. Give me 1 second. I
No,
think maybe
it's probably me. It's probably.
No. I'll just share if I am.
Yeah.
Annie's
Yes.
saying when we were in second grade, we bring elders to solve problems. I missed the rest of it. We don't realize we could be problem solvers. Yes, absolutely. Wonderful. All right. So the fun part starts now, you guys. So put your thinking caps on. This is going to be fun. Ideally, before we start, we would probably spend like a couple hours just figuring out what is the problem we want to solve. But what we are doing instead is we kind of, just in the interest of time, cut that down. We are saying we are giving you the problem, which we are really hoping is a universal problem right now. How do I live a life that I want during COVID-19? Now, there's no perfect answer works for all, right? Each of us have different needs. So I want to understand that. So that's the problem. Ready? Move on. Let's go to the next slide, Raji. So what we did, and this is the test run that we did with the teenagers, we have the problem, living the life we want during COVID. Now I want you guys to come up with different settings, characters, and potential problems for that statement. So for example, when we asked this to the teenagers, they said the setting is the home, the character is family, and quarantine means mental stress. So these are 14 years old and 20 years old talking about mental stress, which is really a critical piece, right? These are kids who are going through stress. You go to the mall, which is a setting, characters, family and friends, there's no movies to watch. You can't go to a theater now. So they came up with this list. Raji, if you could go to the next slide.
Sure.
So put it in the chat. Raji will type it in. So we are going off slideshow there. In a setting for a character, what are the potential problems? Tell me. What keeps you up at night? What bothers you? What's gotten you frustrated over the last 6 months? Put it in the chat window. Tanisha said uncertainty over the future. Thank you, Tanisha. Kelly said, can we see the example? Sure. Raji, do you want to maybe show the examples one more time? Actually, keep
Sure.
the examples there and we can put it in. Maybe for just a second.
Sure.
So we have, all right. So we have energy pent up, travel, family, friends, no transportation, lack of work, how to establish new client relationship in a virtual world. Absolutely. Home, family, blurred boundaries of personal and professional life, sudden shift in lifestyle. Raji, maybe we could write a couple of these and then we can go to the next slide. Take a look at what's on the chat window, you guys. I don't know if you have time to write it, but we will use all of this input. So thank you so much. Sudden shift in, we talked about this, lack of social interaction, Setting outdoor, problem wearing masks outdoors, and keeping physical distance from everyone. Yes. Missing the social connection with office colleagues. I mean, I've been coaching a couple people who are extroverts, and personally, I'm an introvert myself, so I'm very happy to go into my bubble. But it's a real thing where your energy comes from meeting other people, and if you're not able to do that, work-life balance, yes, all the time in front of the system. Lalita is saying no competitive sports activities to participate. Too much screen time, kids and adults, I agree. Freedom's lost, yes. My kids and my husband would leave home at 8, and I work from home, so 8 to 2 was my time. And I just feel like there's somebody constantly, at my back these days. It's uncomfortable. Home family problem, extra caution, creating trauma. Absolutely. Tiptoeing around partner, trying to manage and not managing expectations of family effectively. Yes. Yes. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful comments. Thank you, guys. So you have this information in the chat window. We will use it. We'll go to the next tool, which is to combine some of this and create an actual problem solution, a problem definition. So, Raji, do you want to go to the next slide? I have more coming in, stressful messages in news that never stops. You're absolutely right, Cindy. I think this is seamless that we have all of this on the chat. That's great. What we are doing now is we are combining. So remember how in the video, the kids talked about combining solutions and combining problems. So what we are going to do now is we're going to make a list of problems, like broad level problems that has been communicated on the chat window. And if you look at the slide that Raji is sharing, there are a couple examples that the teenagers came up with last week. So I'm going to have it a little small because I have the chat window. Let me just make it big. So we have, how might we meet our social needs at school while ensuring social distancing? How can you follow passion and hobbies while ensuring social distancing? So they've combined ideas based on the setting, the character, problem solutions, and they're defining the problem statement. So ideally, again, what I would have done in a proper design thinking session is we would have given it a time, come up with some really good options, and then voted on it. What I'll do now is the top 7 options is what I will pick, and then we'll run from there. So come on. Based on what you've seen in the chat window, frame 7 problems for me. And Raji has the example on the slide, so you know how to do that. I love it. Kelly, set boundaries to keep your mental health working from home. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kelly. Nancy, maybe you want to put these in the poll. Yeah, so the first one's that. Yeah, second one is anxiety. Thank you, Nancy. So Vijaya said anxiety. I'm going to combine that with the option that Kelly said. So set boundaries to keep your mental health working from home and avoid anxiety. Work-life balance. Yes, again, that kind of goes back to the first one, which is set boundaries. What else? Look at some of the settings. So we talked about sports. How can we allow self-care in a blurred work-life environment? Yes, wonderful. We moved from mental health to we're talking about self-care now. Good. Keeping socially active. Yes. How do you keep yourself socially active while you have to stay 6 feet from everybody else? So Kelly, you said set time aside to take care of yourself. That we are in, when we say that, we kind of go into problem solving mode, which will be next, which is the next phase. So that's really good input there. Feel connected with people during social distancing. Again, goes back to the social active. So we'll combine those two. How to keep yourself engaged every day beyond work. Social interaction and hobbies. Yes. Having me time, Amrita. Absolutely. Very good point. What else? maybe another one or two, and then we can go to the next stage. To see husband and son 24/7, which has never happened. Amrita, I am so with you. I so hear you. It's just, as much as we love the fact that our loved ones are close by and we get to spend some time, it's also good to say, absence makes the heart grow fonder. So to not be constantly in each other's personal space. Very true. Ishmeet said, how to make best of the present time and not focus too much on when COVID is over. Love it. Love it. Yes. What can we do to live today? Like today, making that the best day that we could have lived. Wonderful. Vijaya said, how to have a personal space when you are at home. Absolutely. How to keep children engaged and reduce screen time. Yes. How not to be scared of being infected while office and outdoor. Wonderful. All right, you guys. How to empathize with customers beyond work. Manchi, that's a really good point from a professional perspective. When we would do a lot of, water cooler talks, we would go and meet people. You can do that. So how do you kind of manage meeting these people, and especially when we are talking design thinking and empathize? What are practices we can implement to maintain mental and emotional health? Again, goes back to the first one, which talked about mental health. All right, wonderful. Thank you so much, you guys. This is wonderful, wonderful combining of pieces and coming up with these problem statements. What Nancy's going to do now is, and she's the expert at it. So Nancy, do you want to tell us how we're going to do the polls?
Yeah, so I'm going to launch a poll in a few minutes, and then you just have to pick one and you have to set your answer. Okay, so I'm launching it. And I guess you can see it on your screen.
Yes.
Yes, we can. If anybody's having challenges, please let us know.
Yeah.
We'll give it maybe 30 seconds more. I absolutely love the problem statements.
Yeah,
It's just
so
inspiring.
fascinating and interesting problem statements.
Yeah.
We never thought it's going to be that quick, right, Smitha? I mean, people are on it. They didn't take any time to think about.
Yeah.
Everybody's tuned in. Wow.
And that goes to absolutely, Raji. Anybody else who's having challenges voting? Please type in if you're having challenges, and we want to hear your thoughts.
6 are remaining, the rest have filled
Okay.
in.
Nancy and Raji, are two of you the ones who didn't fill in?
No, I did.
filled in mine because it was distracting my screen. Okay. All right, let's move on. Nancy, what's the poll results looking like? Yeah, okay. Go ahead. Yeah, I think we could.
Okay, I'll share the results. So yeah, you can see the result on your screen.
So I think how to
Wonderful.
keep yourself
so
engaged.
We have a clear winner. Absolutely. How to keep yourself engaged beyond everyday work, social interaction, and hobbies. And it seems like it's something that's impacting so many of us. So let's talk about that, okay? All right, next slide, Raji.
Sure.
So what we're going to do here is start with a video on empathy. This is where we come to the problem solving, and we kind of trying to understand what our user wants and what is it that they are really going through. If you look at each step, every step kind of brings you closer to understanding your end user a little more, one step more, right? So let's go ahead and see that video on empathy.
Okay.
Raji, can you hear me? I think we can
Yeah.
start. I think you can start about 30 seconds after, like the time the first couple minutes are
Yes.
just introduction.
Sure. Let me just skip it.
Yeah, this is good. Just in the interest of time.
What they are designing for. Hope you enjoy it. Design thinkers gain a wealth of knowledge by engaging in interviews with the people they are designing for, and provides the opportunity to directly learn about what is essential to their user. Our second graders took on the role of city planners for the local community near their school. Students visited the local community to make observations, but also had the opportunity to interview with the community members. This was all set up by a parent of one of the students, the amazing Yoon Kim. Students were able to interview the manager of a Mercedes-Benz dealership, the owner of a coffee shop, a real estate agent, the owner of a construction company, and the high school students who live in the local boarding school. Here are the interview questions students asked their community members. The interview questions consisted of both specific and broad questions. For the specific questions, students were taught to ask why, to find the causes of the behavior or thinking of the community member. For example, when a student asked the real estate agent, "What do you like best about your community?" she explained that she enjoyed the location of the community. The student then asked why the location of the community is favorable. He found out that she drove to other communities for the diverse selection of food and entertainment. This insight showed the community members were seeking out other areas for things they wanted in their daily lives. The broader interview questions allowed students to gain information about the community members' lives, values, and habits. Students were able to find insightful patterns from the interview answers. By asking community members about their daily schedule, students learned that many of them work for 8 to 9 hours a day. By asking community members what their interests were, students learned that younger people enjoyed consuming media, while older people liked to spend their time doing some form of exercise like golf or hiking. The students who lived in the boarding school stated that their schedule consisted of studying in the morning, classes in the afternoon, and then more studying at home. This information helped students realize that the community needed to provide its businesses and residents with spaces for relaxation and leisure activities. In the define phase, students synthesized the information they found in their empathy work to develop a problem statement. The problem statement defines what the meaningful challenge is all about and guides students through the design thinking process to a desirable solution. The statement identifies the users, their needs, and any insights that can provide design opportunities. Thanks for watching. If you want to
All right, I'm going to take 2 minutes. Any thoughts on the empathy video? What insights did you guys get? About the process, about the questions that was asked? Okay, so if there's anything that you guys want to add, just go ahead and put in there.
To ask
Rupa
such
said,
questions,
don't assume, ask questions. And I interrupted somebody.
Yes, to ask such questions that we get the answer. To ask those pertinent questions. And keep on asking the questions till we get the proper answers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Rupa said, don't assume, ask questions. Karen said, ask relevant questions. Gabriela said, you have to put you in the shoes of your customer. Absolutely. To understand the user. Yes. Great. All right. So what we're going to do now is a similar exercise, and I'm going to just go off the slide. So we have in the deck a list of questions that you guys can use as an example. So if you see each of the questions, they kind of they lead into discussion. So none of them are into, I think somebody wrote about Boolean answers. Yes, so it's not a yes or no, as Harpreet said, asking Boolean questions. Yes, so your questions should be such that it invites a discussion. where people can tell stories, people can talk about their experience. So ask those really wide, open-ended questions, which kind of propel additional discussion and feedback and questions. Rupa said you need not be an expert to give solutions. Absolutely. Absolutely. Take a look at the questions that is there on the slide. If I had to say one thing to kind of summarize this, is listen beyond the words. I am bored. I am bored. See the difference? The first one's just me being bored. The second one's being bored, but more importantly, I'm frustrated. And hearing what your customer is going through can be a very powerful experience that will help you design better solutions. So listen in more than the words to what they are saying, what they are feeling. If you can, what are they thinking? So we're going to do this exercise. This is going to be a fun exercise, and I'm going to go into where I can see most people. Let me see how I can do that better. All right, perfect. So I'm going to randomly pick up two people. I don't mean to put you on the spot. If you're uncomfortable, just say, maybe next time. But what I would really like you guys to do is to ask questions to the person that I tell you. So I'm going to start with, and I see on my screen, I see Durga. If it's okay with you, Durga, I'm going to ask you to ask a question. And Kelly's had a life where she's lived in COVID. So what's a question that you would like to ask her? Going back to the problem statement, which was, and Raji, would you mind putting that problem statement, Raji or Nancy, on the chat so everybody knows it? And I think it was something on the lines of social interaction. Yeah, because I want to make sure that I get the wordings right. I think it was, I'll wait for you to put it, Raji.
So I think Nancy has it, right? That the question which came
Nancy,
from the poll.
Do you have the question? Yeah. Would you have that at all? And it's okay if you don't have it. I just thought it'll be helpful.
Okay.
If you find it, put in. Yeah.
You can see on the screen the poll results.
No, we can't.
Yeah. Now,
yeah, it came.
How to keep yourself engaged every day beyond work, social interaction, and hobbies. So that's what came up. So Durga, if you don't mind, what's a question? Like, what gets you curious about Kelly's life and what her experiences are in this question? And I think the next two people that I can pick so that you have your questions ready is Gabriella, if you want to ask a question to Rupa, again, around the same area. So Durga, do you want to ask a question to Kelly?
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I've been having a little bit of network issues, so I've been going in and out, but I'll give it a shot. So, yes, so I'd probably like to know what are Kelly's hobbies, and what is kind of stopping her from engaging in those hobbies during these difficult times.
Love it. Kelly, do you have an answer?
Yeah, that's a good question. So for me, is because I think I set my career first versus my own kind of fun things. So I struggle setting boundaries between work and my personal, like have fun. And that is my main kind of challenge.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much for sharing that and being authentic. Absolutely. I'm going to move on. So Gabriella and Rupa, do you guys have a question? And I forgot who I asked the question to. Gabriella, do you have a question for Rupa?
Hi, do you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Hello. Okay, yes, I would like to know what she used to do when she was stressed out before COVID, what she used to do to calm down, to be relaxed, or to feel happy.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I generally spend time with my child, so that's my relaxing time. I get into their shoes, understand what happens in his school, and so during COVID, I think I'm able to solve that bit. I'm able to spend more time with my child, so it kind of helps me relax during COVID as well.
Wonderful. Wonderful. All right. Shifat Khan, do you have a question for Lalita? And the next bunch of people, Lily, do you have a question for Cindy after Shifat's had asked her question? And again, guys, if you're uncomfortable, let me know. Don't mean to put you on the spot. But
sorry, I probably want to pass.
Okay, sure. Lily, do you have a question for Cindy that you would like to ask?
I was saying I want to pass.
Okay, and that's okay. Shailaja and Vijaya, do you guys have a question? Shailaja, do you have a question for Vijaya? Okay. Come on, you guys. Ask a question.
I would like to volunteer.
Yeah, I like that. Go ahead.
Okay.
And you can pick a person on the screen. Pick a person on the screen.
Maybe we can just ask if there is a volunteer. Maybe we can just ask if there is a volunteer for my question.
Yes, you can ask me.
Great.
Even I'm fine with by providing the answer, as I said, Vijaya.
That's
so
Vijaya. Okay, thank you, Vijaya.
My question is like I will be interested to understand what do you feel when you dedicate yourself to your hobbies? If you can describe that and the engagement as well.
Wow, that's beautiful question. Even I have to think on that, but yeah, I would like to answer on that. I have specifically, I'd say I am more of a traveler. I travel a lot, and during this time, I'm not able to do that, and that is something. I also have anxiety for this reason, but somehow I'm holding up things by developing new exercise. I would say I always wanted to learn yoga, and I'm doing more practices into it. So maybe I think engaging or diverting your one hobby to another when you cannot afford to do the other one during any situation, we can really it really helps a lot to us, and that's how I'm dealing for the moment. Thanks.
Can you describe maybe the feeling you have while you were traveling?
I mean, traveling is real fun. I don't know how to explain. Maybe can you enhance the question a bit? Maybe elaborate.
I think fun is a good answer. Thanks.
Okay.
Who was that who asked those questions? I'm sorry, I'd just like to know you more. Who asked the question just now?
Claudia.
Okay. Okay, I love your questions, Claudia. Thank you so much for those. I think those were really deep, probing questions, so I love it. And Shifat, Shifat, you said no, but you do, it seems, have a question for Lalita, and I'm going to read it out. How to convince customers to spend? How to convince customers to spend? I can't speak today. People seem to spend less after the pandemic started, and it's affecting my business. Lalita, from a perspective of hobby, what are your thoughts there? Do you have anything to share? You're on mute, Lalita.
Smitha, could you repeat the question once again? Sorry.
Sure. Shifat had a question for you. How to convince customers to spend? People seem to spend less after the pandemic started, and it's affecting my business. So I would like you to answer this from the perspective of the hobbies and the social interactions, because that's the problem statement. So there is the monetary perspective as well there, when people don't spend money on hobbies and interaction. So what's your thought there?
Engaging in hobbies could definitely go probably virtual mode, and since hobbies were being pursued face to face, or probably competing into certain other sports activities was also more from a participation, and monetary involvement was there, so that could actually translate into a virtual mode wherein you encourage the customers with some value added aspects or benefits that will actually encourage them to even pay a price for engaging into hobbies.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Okay, so I wish I could kind of continue this, but this is an example of what an insightful interview would be, where you kind of step into the shoes, ask those insightful questions. I see a couple comments. Brooke said, put emphasis on the safety piece to honor the current environment. I love it. Absolutely. All right, moving on. So we've got all of this insights, right, where Lalita and Vijaya, they spoke about what their experiences is with regards to social interaction, with regards to hobby. We're going to go to the next slide. Again, we are going to dive in a little more into understanding the customer. So this is something, again, which we had created during the dry run. We are going to create a persona. So Vijaya talked, Lalita talked, and we had a couple other people talking in. Combine all of that and create, and just whatever comes to your mind, put that in. Your first answer is usually the best answer. So, we talked about the goals, what's the personality like, what are their needs, what are their pain points. So this was what we got in our last test run. We'll spend about 2 minutes just putting this information in. So type it in, and Raji will kind of update that and create that persona.
So I'll just go with the name CWL, right? While you think about the problem.
What needs? And I forget I'm forgetting the other people who spoke. I apologize. But what needs? What was the need that was resonating? What was the pain? And I see Aparna writing, business owner, mother, professional. Yes, absolutely.
Kelly had a question, right? She didn't understand the problem. 1 second.
Okay, going back. So Kelly, what you have to do, let's go to slide 19. So you had all the answers coming in, right? So based on all of the answers, so you are going to combine all the answers and all the people who answered those questions and create one imaginary person. We call that a persona. And whatever answers you've gotten, we are trying to combine that, and we are trying to understand what are the needs that is being unmet, or what are the needs that's there in the people who spoke. What are their pain points? What kind of personality do they have? What goals would they have around their life and around this topic? And just generally, whatever it is that you feel about the person. So Gabriella said, married woman, middle-aged with children, professional. That's her about. I love it. Aparna said, business owner, mother, professional. Brooke, does that answer your question? Do you have any other questions around this? She's having trouble to balance work life, family, personal life. Yes, about. You are absolutely right, Gabriella. Liz is saying she's age 38, career-driven female who loves travel. Kelly said, women, mid-career range. See how it's coming up? See how these visuals are coming up about the person that you are trying to help. International mindset, traveler, independent. Yes, the international mindset is very deep. That's the personality of the person. Independent, yes, that's a personality of the person. Goals, great juggling between roles, being in the moment, smile no matter what. Yeah, yes, absolutely. Wants to be a good mother and also feels good with her professional career. Yes. Let's talk about the needs and the pain points. What's her need? This person who is middle-aged, career, independent, international mindset. What's her need? Ambitious, career-driven, indulgence in her choice of hobby,
Normalcy.
enjoys being in the role of all. Desire, absolutely, Amita. Need to have ample support around her. Yes, that's her need, to have support. Time for herself and self-care. Love it, Kritika. Liz, she is striving to attain a new customer for her business. Yes, she's a businesswoman, mid-career. Have fun, Claudia said. Yes. She needs help to have me time. Love it. Time management, absolutely. That's a pain point because she's juggling so many things. See how all the personas are coming together? And then when you create this one persona that's a combination of multiple personas, and you have this unified idea of what the need is, what their pain point is, now you're on one step ahead in solving a problem for people like these. Mental wellness, to stay safe in this career time. That's their need, yes. All right, moving on, next slide. And okay, the next slide is the empathy slide. I'm gonna pass this on to Raji.
Okay. So, thanks, Smitha. Now we come to the empathy map. We have to align the team to the user. So we are doing this as an individual activity. Now, what she says as part of this ask. So, what is the personality calling it out? What she thinks in that problem statement, and what she does, and how she feels about the overall perspective. So this example is from the previous dry run that we had done. In the same way, let's call it out how we take it for the next thing what we described right now. So I'll just move it on to the next slide. Let's align whatever we discussed so far. I'll just go back here. We talked about a married, middle-aged, independent, international mindset person juggling between roles, want to be a good mom and have a balance with the career, need support with time, and all those things taken care of. How do we define what she's saying as a summarized problem statement? So all we want to do is define a problem statement here for that person. So what she says. Any guesses here or any thoughts of how do we put it as one statement of what she's trying to say? I think we can give it a try. So she needs this, like, what is the problem she's trying to solve? So how do we define that? Great. So I'll just write it down. Amrita is saying difficulty juggling many roles. Awesome. How she thinks she's feeling right now. So she's kind of struggling, would I say that?
There are a couple comments in the chat, Raji.
Yeah.
You don't maybe have to write it. If it's easy for you to resist, don't write it.
Yeah.
I think we can just read it out if that's easy for you.
I think Annie says when will things get back to normal? So that's her feeling that when the things would get back to normal. I think that how she feels is overwhelmed. Amrita, again, a good point from you. What she does to solve this? Maybe Lalita, she's trying to say align to the new needs and wants. What else she can do to get this solved, needs a new structure to feel successful in work, family, and socially. I like that. Amita is saying time management. Yeah, that's a good one too. So these all data points are helping us to define the problem statement. Vijaya says diverting mindset from problem to what she wants to achieve. So that is one way of how she's thinking about this problem. So these all data points are actually giving us a perspective of how we define a problem statement for her. So what would be the more crisp way of saying that this is the problem we are trying to solve, juggling between many roles, short-term goals to achieve amidst the challenge during COVID, take it slowly, prioritize, give a free day, compromising on few things.
नाही ती काहीतरी सिरीज बघतीये ना म्हणून
Prioritizing,
मोबाईल
okay.
वरती ते सिरीजची टाइम झाली आहे.
So I think I'll move on with this, Smitha. I think. Okay. So let's. So this is
Okay.
what, right? So guys, we had so many points that we discussed as part of brainstorm. Now we want to talk about the quantity of ideas we have been already discussing through, and I see that we are all spinning a different kind of problem which the person is having, fewer overlapping. So we would want to go for these diverse areas, and we would love to have novelty over relevance, so that we try all the final combinations and come up with a question. So what is the final problem statement we can define? So this is something which the students came up with for the COVID. Let's define our problem statement, like based on all this brainstorming that we did. How can we put it as one problem statement, seeing all these idea exchanges? Reducing her dependency on tasks that can be delegated by other people around. How do we put it as one problem statement? I mean, how can we squeeze in all these discussions or idea points which we had so far? Self-management during COVID.
So this is where, based on all of you understand the person now. So from a solving of the problem, what can you do? Come up with ideas there.
So self-management is one way of doing it. Yeah, Amita says let go the task which can be avoided. So good. Perfect. So Liz, I like that. Who can she partner with at work for delegation, and who in her support system can she ask for 1 hour of self-care? That's lovely. And then how can she spend time? Maybe I can combine that for her hobbies and social life. So that's kind of how we got closer to understanding the whole perspective of what all problems she had. Problem statement can be juggled between work and self-care, and set priorities right. So yeah, delegation of work, getting a better support system, time for self-care, right? And then we can getting time for hobbies or just prioritization. Yeah, so I think guys, this is going awesome. So basically we have come up with a problem statement here. And once we have the problem statement, now it's actually time to prototype those ideas. So everybody has given their own option. We came up with a problem statement. Now we see what actually would work better for her. How can she improve on other ideas? And then what are the other questions left? So that is an iterative process where we have to see which model would actually go through completely to the end. And in the interest of time, I would have to leave this prototyping and testing. Testing is again, we'll just try to validate those assumptions again and see which option would give her the best way to solve everything in interest of prioritizing self-care and making sure she's having enough things to delegate on. She's having the helping hand in there. So which model works best? So I think I'll leave it to you guys, and we can have an offline discussion for this to take care of. And I would just pass on the baton back to Smitha here.
Thank you, Raji. Again, this was just to give you a flavor of what a design thinking workshop would typically look like, and what is the tenet, which is to really understand the customer and then prototype. What does it mean for you guys? You've seen it work with elementary students. So as leaders in your own right, what does it mean for you? And what I started is I started to understand what does it mean to be a good leader. And turns out that the definition, Raji, if you could go to the next slide.
Sure.
So it turns out that the definition of a leader in itself will change over the next 5 years. So with technology, machine learning, AI, robotics, it's going from being predominantly people management to being a combination of problem solving and people management, with more of a weightage being given towards the problem solving perspective. And design thinking is uniquely poised to equip you with those skills. Internalizing design thinking is going to help you be creative, problem solving, help you be help you be creative. And of course, empathy is something that we've talked about over and over. Just that being able to put yourself in your team members' shoes, developing deep listening things, you will transform as a people manager as well. So just a perspective on how this will help you be a better leader. Raji, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Sure. Thanks, Smitha. So I would want to close here with example of how brands are using design thinking, and there are a lot more brands which are currently using design thinking. It could be Apple, it could be Nike, Coca-Cola, and you name it. So everybody has started adopting and have been adopting from the past 10 years or even more. I would take an example of Uber to keep it simple. Uber has tried to address the needs of the customers, which was unnoticed by other taxi companies. And the three things which they are working on, or they listen to the customers by wearing those special lenses to see their problems. The primary one was the customers were waiting for their taxis and there was no visualization or to understand where the taxi is, how long they have to wait. So the problem was cut down by Uber. They gave a seamless method for people to grab a taxi, see the waiting time. The drivers, sorry. Okay, so drivers didn't like the risk of the fare dodgers and cabs not being paid.
On mute?
Thanks, Smitha. So, so the next thing was they enabled the cashless payments to make sure that the drivers also have the comfort and the customers have the comfort of paying anytime, anywhere. The customer worried about the safety, so the Uber had put a very nice checks and balance, ensuring that the people can rate and understand who the driver is. So that gave the whole 360 comfort zone for the customer journey, and then people were feeling more safe, and the taxi business took a different turn altogether. And this was a pioneer example of using design thinking. So any brand and every brand, whoever want to excel has started this approach of taking design thinking in their implementation, trying to understand customer with their special lens. Yeah, with that we conclude on the session of design thinking. I'm so glad you all made it, and it was such an interactive participation from all of you. The way you guys have put up all the questions and made it really come as a fun session. I would like Smitha to call about our new Lenient Circle that we are launching for design thinkers. Smitha?
Sure. And I see a couple questions on the chat. We'll get to this after we talk about this. We are starting, so Raji and I are collaborating to start a Lean In Circle for design thinking. The objective is twofold. One is to just continuously learn to be a better innovator, to be better creative, to be more creative, and to solve problems. With the skills that we've learned, what I'm really hoping is that we can take on social impact projects and solve problems. There are problems that I see around which are extremely people-oriented problems that I feel like if a bunch of us got together, we can solve for it. So I'm hoping a lot of you, all of you, would join our team. Let's take up those projects, those pesky issues that we've been trying to solve, get together, put our minds together and see if we can come up with solutions. And, when we say make this world a better place, leave a legacy, I think this is a really good forum to do it. This is a really good methodology to do it. I'm very passionate about it. So, let's get on board and get together to change and improve the world.
Thank you, Smitha.
Anything
so we are doing this in association with CWL, and there is one more circle we would want to talk about. But before that, as Smitha said, right, we are really looking for people who want to make a difference in the lives of others. So it's totally a non-profit initiative which we are thinking towards trying to solve a real problem and having great brains which work towards a better solution for those. These could be just changing 1 or 2 lives at a time, but it does matter. And moving on, one more announcement I wanted to make is about Know Your Core. This is one more circle which I've started in association with CWL. This is about the people who are new to Lean In. And since you guys are already part of Lean In, most of you, if you know of someone who is not part of Lean In and is looking to just come out of that cocoon of silence and who are more introvert, they can just try and explore the circle. This is again in association with CWL, and you will get these details of the WhatsApp group and the Facebook link along after this session. Once again, thank you so much for all the enthusiasm which you guys have shown and stayed until the end of the session. Thanks again, and I hand it off to Nancy. Yeah,
there
sorry.
are a couple. Sorry, Raji. There are a couple questions that we can take.
Sure,
and guys,
Smitha.
we will stay on for a couple minutes. I know we have another, I think, 8 more minutes. So if you want to stay on, ask questions, we are happy to answer you guys. I'm looking at the first question. I lost my train of thought, sorry. Liz said, I appreciate all of you hosting this event during the Passport Challenge. Thank you so much, Liz. Kelly said, what would a high-level process for a setup of a community or employee resource group using design thinking? Raji, do you want to take the question and then I can maybe chime in?
Sorry, can you see that again?
The question was high-level process for the setup of a community or employee resource group using design thinking. And I am part of the ERG group within my company. And one of the things that we just did is 2 people got together, we had an idea, we implemented it. We set up an event, we said, what's the feedback, and learned from it. As simple as that.
Absolutely.
Raji, did you have, go ahead, Raji.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's about just taking that one smallest problem which you could think of, right? Be it your workplace or your community, and think about those solutions which you are trying to solve towards, like who is your stakeholder you're trying to address that problem for, hearing it from their in their own words, right? And trying to solve that problem. And that's it.
Yeah. Gabriela said, can you please recommend the best books to deep dive in the world of design thinking? There is one, and I can, Gabriela, maybe connect with you offline. The one that comes to my mind is design thinking for services industry, where you have multiple options in terms of where design thinking was used in the services field. I think there's another one, which is, I don't know if it's 13 problems or 15 problems, but problem solved is 10 problems solved.
10 problems,
design.
yeah.
Raji, did you have any other resources?
Yeah, I think there is one more growth for leaders, that is from Jean Litka. So there are a couple of books from Jean Litka which are really good, and there is a toolkit also for design thinking which talks about all the tools which come handy and how to use them. And there is a book on how to solve those. So there's a field book. So you can also refer to the field book. We can share those names, and those books will come really handy for you for doing a hands-on.
Next question's from Jackie. How do I get an e-certificate? Coincidentally, Jackie, both Raji and I did our online certification in design thinking from Darden University, Virginia. Jean Litka is the professor, and I love it because it's very, very hands-on. We have 4 modules where we did an actual project, and that's really where I got really passionate about this. Raji, any other ideas?
Yeah, that's about it. I mean, that would be the best way. I think Stanford is also coming up with more courses, but this is the one which we have done hands-on, and we really loved it. So it's detailed enough, and the courses are well structured. So I think you would really enjoy that. And it clearly says like how much time you have to spend every week and how much time you have to spend for an assignment. And so those things you have to just plan ahead and just keep going with it.
Absolutely. Vijaya said that was a wonderful session. Thank you, Vijaya, for those kind words and for your participation. Liz said, could we please take a screenshot of our Lean In Passport Challenge? Our Lean In Seattle team and our partners greatly appreciate a memory of this amazing session. I love that idea, Liz. Nancy, do you think you could help us with that?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so everyone please switch on your video so that we can take a screenshot to showcase that, yeah, you all are the participants. And yeah, Liz, you can take the screenshot now. Yeah, everyone with smiling face.
Great. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Liz.
Liz. Thank you so much.
Nancy, is it okay for us to stay on if somebody has any questions? I don't know what the procedure is.
Sure. If people have questions, they want to continue, I'm happy to take it further.
Yeah, I think Durga has a question. There are courses from Stanford University also. Yes, there are. For e-learning modules, yes, they are offering from Stanford.
IDEO is another organization which really started design thinking. They also offer some really good courses. Anything else? You're welcome. You're welcome, Durga.
And once again, thank you so much, people joining from different time zones, staying up late. I don't know what is the time. In India, it's 10 o'clock already. And I really, really appreciate for your patience and then cooperation all through.
Thank you, you guys. Absolutely. It was such a pleasure connecting with all of you, your feedback, and for your really enthusiastic participation. We're grateful. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Nancy, are we all set to close?
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Smitha and Raji, for this wonderful session. It was so interactive, so knowledgeable, and you have designed it so well. So I can see the design thinking in this session also. So yeah, it was super fun, and thank you all the participants for staying till like half an hour more. Thank you so much, and your participation was really much appreciative. So thank you so much. We are looking forward for many more sessions, and I hope that we have put in the inbox the different Lenient Circle links for the Know Your Code and design thinking. I would definitely recommend you to attend and join those circle. It will be super helpful. So yeah, do go to those links and yeah, show the love to the groups.
Look forward to meeting you guys there. Are we set to close the session, Nancy?
Okay, yeah. So from this, I'm ending the session. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, people. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye. Bye.